So I guess I had technical difficulties with 17. It did not download. So here we go. It's always darkest before the dawn, which is supposed to mean that when things look really bad, you can usually expect a change for the better. It didn't work. Things got worse. Pete and I found our canoe, which the girls had hidden in some trees nearby, and brought it back to camp. Then we spent a little while kicking things, trees mostly, and finally we plodded over to Cornelius's. We had promised to help him fix something on his treehouse, something he called his super duper. Right away, when we got there, he gleefully told us the news. The girls were coming to tea. Pete and I stared at him. Cornelius went on. He said he had run into Jill's Aunt Catherine again earlier that morning when he was out in his rowboat fishing. She'd come by paddling in her canoe, and he'd found the courage to invite her over for afternoon tea. He'd asked her to bring over those two charming girls, Jill and Sunny, and he'd assured her that Pete and I would be there too. He told her we wouldn't want to miss it for the world. My mind reeled, and for a few seconds, Pete and I were too stunned to speak. Finally, Pete managed to blurt out, "Sorry, can't make it. We're going to Mongolia." Cornelius looked confused. So I apologized for him, and I told him that it was very nice of him to invite us, but that our relationship with Jill and Sunny was a little rocky at the moment, so it wouldn't be possible for us to have tea with them. We would rather die 1,000 deaths first. Now Cornelius really looked confused. He said he respected our feelings, but he couldn't help wondering what in the world could have happened to make us feel so strongly about Jill and Sunny. We did sort of owe him an explanation, so we started to tell him just one or two little things about how we had capsized our canoe the day we arrived and how the girls had had the time of their lives taking our picture. But what with Pete and me interrupting each other and adding more and more details, and what with Cornelius asking questions and looking so interested, it wasn't long before we had spilled the whole story, all about Mr. Moose and Mr. Duck and the whole Wolverine attack and Snowball and Poopsie and the gingerbread tent and everything. Said Cornelius after we finished. I see what you mean. That's a pretty rocky relationship, all right. The worst, said Pete. The pits. Exactly, said Cornelius crisply. And that's why this tea party is just what the doctor ordered. Pete and I looked at each other and then back at Cornelius. No, really, Cornelius, I began. I don't think you understand. You see, trust me, he said, holding up his hand. Believe me, you'll thank me later. This party is going to give you boys a chance to get off on an entirely new foot with Jill and Sunny. Pete snorted. When it comes to Jill and Sunny, he muttered, there's only one thing I'd like to do with my foot. Cornelius didn't hear him. He started pacing back and forth with sort of a dreamy, enthusiastic look on his face. We were up on the breakfast balcony, which was about 20 feet long, so we had plenty of room to pace. I had the sinking feeling that he was about to go philosophical on us, and he did. Boys, he said grandly, this isn't just a chance for me to get to know Catherine better and maybe impress her with my jungle skills. This is a chance for us to bring peace and harmony to this splendid island of ours. Jungle skills? What a wonderful opportunity we have to forgive and forget, to live and let live, to let bygones be bygones, and to build bridges of human understanding. All we have to do is open up our hearts and let the sun shine in. No way, said Pete and I together. Besides, Cornelius added, sort of as an afterthought, I already told Catherine you were coming over. What will Jill and Sunny think if you leave before they get here? Good point. They think we're chickens, that's what. Too scared to face them. I winced. Great. That'd be just great. Moose and duck chicken at your service. Yeah, well, what do you think, Pete? I asked. I mean, if we don't show up, the girls might think we're, not too brave. I mean, we wouldn't want them to, die laughing. Pete sighed. Yeah, I see what you mean, he said glumly. I guess we've got no choice. I mean, I guess a guy's got to do what a guy's got to do. So I guess we got to go to a tea party. You won't regret it, said Cornelius cheerfully. Pete slouched against the railing of the balcony, stared gloomily down at the inlet. Suddenly something occurred to him as he perked up slightly. Say, Cornelius, he said, if they give us any trouble, can we throw them in the lake? Now, don't you worry, said Cornelius. You won't have to. Mark my words. Those two young ladies are going to charm your socks off. So it was settled. If I had my social calendar with me, I'd have made an entry in it. Tea at 3. Are you sure this is strong enough? I asked, eyeing a thin nylon rope stretching away through the forest. We were standing on a small platform near Cornelius's library up in the first tree. Jill, Sunny, and Aunt Catherine weren't coming till the middle of the afternoon, so we had plenty of time to help Cornelius with his new project, his super duper. You bet, said Cornelius. That rope is 5,000-pound test. The super duper had turned out to be a secret high-speed escape route, as Cornelius put it. Every treehouse, Cornelius said, should have a secret high-speed escape route, just in case. What the super duper actually was a 100-foot-long rope slide. We had rigged it up by first tying one end of the rope to the trunk of the tree just behind the platform, about 30 feet above the ground. Then we tied the other end to a tree far away through the forest, this time only about 4 feet above the ground. Working together, we managed to get the rope stretched taut before we had tied it to the lower end. Finally mounted on the rope was a sailboat block with its pulley rolling freely along the top of the rope. And under the rope, hanging down from the frame of the block, was a large wooden handle wide enough to grip with both hands. Presto, a super duper. Of course, we hadn't tested it yet, but if everything went as planned, we would have a long, fast, sloping ride down from the platform down through the forest, over the branches of one tree and under the branches of another, all the way to a soft landing on a small grassy patch of ground deep in the woods. Cornelius had figured out a neat way to get the pulley back up, too. He had an extra fishing reel that we attached to the near top of the rope. Then we hooked the fishing line to the pulley. When someone went zooming down the rope, the fishing line would unreel after him, and all you have to do is reel the pulley back up the rope. Cornelius looked really happy with his new super duper. Every treehouse, he declared again as we surveyed our work from the launching platform, should have at least one of these. He was standing on the edge of the platform, ready for his first test run. He had both hands above him, grasping the handle of the sailboat block, sliding it back and forth along the rope. His knees were bent, his eyes were narrowed. A treehouse without a secret high-speed escape route is nothing less than an invitation to trouble. Suppose, for instance, he went on dramatically, that your treehouse was suddenly invaded by a battalion of army ants, or maybe a gang of ruthless criminals. Sometimes I told myself Cornelius reminded me of Pete. I didn't know why exactly. He just did. Yeah, said Pete eagerly, or maybe by a band of bloodthirsty baboons led by their leader, Baboon Kong. Right, said Cornelius. Maybe 50 of them, and they're coming after me, see, howling and baring their fangs. They're everywhere, said Pete, swarming after you, frothing at the mouth. You put up a brave fight, but there are too many of them. They've almost got me cornered, said Cornelius. But then suddenly I remember, my super duper. Your secret high-speed escape route, said Pete. I fight my way here to the platform, karate chopping right and left, said Cornelius. I grab a hold of the super duper. They're almost here, said Pete. There's not much time. Suddenly, Cornelius took a giant leap and launched himself off the platform. He went whizzing away down the rope. They'll never take me alive, he yelled back over his shoulder. Yes, I thought to myself, there are definitely times when Cornelius reminds me of Pete.